Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this past week was filled with news about the upcoming Apple event, or maybe multiple Apple events, iPhone 13, some different options with that, iPad, Mac, and much more. This is your news update for the week of August 22nd, 2021. And the first thing has to do with some documents that were revealed in the recent legal battle between Apple and Epic, where Apple may have considered allowing you to sideload apps, which means installing them without using the App Store like you can on a Mac. So you can do that on Android already, and in the past it looks like they considered it, and even to the point where Steve Jobs had discussed what message would show up if you wanted to open an app that wasn't from the App Store. So it looks like it was a possibility, and based on recent legal battles, it may be a possibility in the future. Now, apparently Apple has been looking to improve Siri even more with a new app called Siri Speech Study. It's an invite-only app, and you need a link to get directly to it, but then you would need participant information, so you do have to be invited to participate. So if you have this app, they're looking to improve speech in the US, Canada, Germany, France, Hong Kong, India, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Mexico, New Zealand, and Taiwan currently. So you can't search for it. It won't show up. You need a direct link to it, but it's great to see that they're finally trying to improve this. Not that they haven't been all along, but it looks like they're working to improve this even further. Now, the controversial photo scanning that may be coming with iOS 15 is coming under additional scrutiny more and more. The Global Coalition of Policy Groups is urging Apple to abandon the plan, and also some German politicians are saying that they would prefer that Apple abandon the plan to use the photo scanning, the CSAM photo scanning. So there has been much concern over the past week. There were some professors from different universities who have voiced concern about it as well. Hopefully Apple will listen to this, take additional considerations, and maybe even delay it like they are with certain features in iOS 15. I would love to see that, and maybe just make sure that things are really there to be able to be checked and sort of verified that the right thing is going on. Let me know what you think about that, though, in the comments below, and if you think maybe they'll delay it as well. Now, Apple has delayed the return of office work for employees until January at the earliest, and so that means that upcoming Apple events will again be virtual this year. And those upcoming Apple events will most likely be fairly soon, since we're getting close to September, where we have the launch of the iPhone. So expect virtual events, and those virtual events, there could be a couple in September according to DigiTimes. However, earlier reports have suggested that there will be up to 3 of them, one in September, one in October, and one in November, or possibly just 2 of them. According to DigiTimes, we could see 2 in September. While that's unlikely, it's not unheard of, and we definitely could see that. And the first event we expect to be on the 14th or sometime around then, where they'll show off the next iPhones. So we'll have the iPhone 13 event, which would be around the 14th, launching in the 3rd week of September, according to Webbush analyst Daniel Ives. So we could see the iPhone 13 as soon as the 3rd week of September, which makes a lot of sense, where we'll finally see what it really looks like. These are the model units I've showed off before, with its diagonal camera, improvements, internal improvements, better battery life, and much more. And in that upcoming iPhone, it's said to have a 1 terabyte option on the Pro models. So it looks like we could have that option. So that's something we could see very soon. Now, according to a recent news release from Mark Gurman, it looks like Apple may abandon the idea of putting Touch ID back on the iPhone for newer models. There's been some news about Touch ID coming back to either the side button like they do on the iPad or under the display in future models. But according to Mark Gurman, it looks like they're going to abandon that and work toward under the display Face ID instead. So instead of having that sort of Touch ID that many of us have wanted, whether that be under the display or the side button like iPads, it looks like they've abandoned it altogether. I'm kind of sad to hear about this, as I was looking forward to it, and I prefer Touch ID in many cases to Face ID. So I did a little survey on Twitter to ask about this as well, and it does seem that most people prefer Face ID still, but there are quite a few that still appreciate Touch ID, my brother included. He really doesn't like Face ID and prefers Touch ID. So I would love to see them continue to work on that, but according to Mark Gurman, it looks like it's going away or not going to be something in the future. Now, in an email from Steve Jobs in 2010, it shows that they were working on an iPhone Nano. So we got the iPhone Mini this year, but many had talked about in the past having an iPhone Nano. So even though the iPhone was fairly small with a 3.5-inch display, we could have had an even smaller one, maybe with more basic functionality that we would have seen. But Unfortunately, that never came around, but it was in an email, or at least mentioned in 2010 with Steve Jobs and some others discussing different plans for the future. So it looks like that never came to be, and we may never see anything like that. Now this year we do expect new iPads, and the iPad 9th generation, which is the basic iPad, is said to be coming soon and will not look like the Air. It will have the traditional style, but have updated processors and maybe even a thinner design. So we may see that this coming year. It makes sense. Apple does it every year, so we could see that with the fall events. Now, another thing we could see, or we do plan to see, is an iPad mini. An iPad mini with Touch ID, just like we have on the iPad Air, as well as a squared-off design like we have here. There were some recent leaks showing an aluminum cutout of what it would look like from Tecorado and XLeak 7X, and it's expected to basically be a smaller version of this iPad Air. So that's to be expected here fairly soon. Now, also, future iPads may get OLED. I've talked about this quite a bit in the past, and iPads apparently may be getting OLED as a secondary option. Apple has pushed quite a bit into mini LED with the iPad Pro and the upcoming MacBooks, but apparently there will be an OLED version as well, as LG is doubling its production of OLED panels from 30,000 to 60,000 per month to bring them to maybe some other iPad options. So maybe we'll have that as an option, a lower end or higher end option. There are advantages to each, so maybe we'll see that fairly soon. One thing I would like to see, according to DigiTimes, is the option of a titanium frame. So right now we have aluminum. Titanium offers the benefit of lightweight with even stronger than steel instead of aluminum, where it's a little bit weaker but lighter. It offers better rigidity, and also could be coming not only to the iPad, but also to the iPhones. I've talked about that before, where we would have a premium iPhone model, just like we do with the Apple Watch that I have here in titanium. We've seen that in Macs, and hopefully we'll see it in iPhones and iPads in the future. According to DigiTimes, they are working on that, but it wouldn't be until probably the next year or so. Now, based on past weeks, it looks like iOS 15 Beta 7 should launch as soon as tomorrow. Last week on the 17th, we got Beta 6, and usually in August, we're at a weekly cycle based on iOS 13, iOS 12, and older versions. So I would expect Beta 7 on the 24th or 25th at the latest, with maybe a release candidate or Beta 8 on the 31st, and final versions in mid to late September. That's typically what Apple does, so I expect Beta 7 tomorrow at the earliest, or possibly even later today after this video. They have been changing things up quite a bit. Now, for those of you asking about iOS 14.8, that's still a bit of a mystery. That showed up as though Apple's working on it, and whether or not they release it this week or ever is hard to say. We do know that there's some security holes, it looks like, in iOS 14 still, although Apple has not confirmed that at all, but it seems like they could use a patch for certain issues people are having with iOS 14.7.1. So whether or not that's 14.8 or a 14.7.2 is hard to say, but in Xcode, they did mention 14.8. So it looks like we could have that very soon, or maybe never at all, and they abandon that and go just to iOS 15 and have everyone update with security updates and more with that. So I'm looking forward to that. As soon as I know more about it, though, I'll be sure to let you know and do a video on it if they release one. So I'm looking forward to those, and hopefully we'll see some additional features and changes or refinements as well. Now, the Series 6 Apple Watch is no longer for sale in titanium. Now, this means they could be making the next version, and we've seen some of what the next version looks like with a more squared off edge design, and it looks like that's for sure what it's going to look like. So we could have that, and maybe we'll have a new titanium option or new ceramic, but we don't really know yet. One thing we are seeing, though, are patents for a new sensor to measure hydration. Now, whether or not this comes out this year or a following year is hard to say, but there's new sensors that Apple has patented to monitor hydration. Basically, it can determine hydration on the conductance of your skin. The higher the conductance, the more electrolytes and perspiration, that can indicate low levels of hydration. So it looks like we could have that very soon, or maybe they'll push that off to next time since the patent seems to just have gone through. But that's something that would be great. Additional capability of the watch and a new design makes sense for this year. Now, with the upcoming Macs, we're waiting for the 14 and 16-inch MacBook, which I've talked about many times. And according to Mark Gurman, a new M1X-based Mac Mini may launch at the same time, before November or sometime around that time frame. So we could have a 14-inch, 16-inch MacBook Pro and an M1X more Pro-based Mac Mini. We've heard about this from other leakers before, and it would be coming before the end of the year. It would have more ports, maybe look like this, and have additional power with that M1X chipset. So I can't wait to see something like that in the future, and that would be something I would definitely be looking forward to. Now, a patent recently found by Patently Apple shows that an upcoming MacBook, maybe in the future, could have a deployable keyboard where you would have the option to detach some keys and use them as a mouse. Now, Apple uses a lot of R&D and researches a lot of these things to try and come up with new ideas. It doesn't mean they'll ever use it or we'll ever see it, but they showed the idea of detaching some of these keys and then using them for an additional mouse. So that's an interesting idea. I'm not so sure it's something that I would want, but I love to see that they're still using different ideas. So it's great to see them testing that. Now, it appears, according to DigiTimes, the AirPods 3 are in production. I've talked about this a little bit in the past. And due to production delays in Vietnam, due to recent restrictions, it looks like they've moved some of the production over to China. So they do look like they're still going to launch in the fall, maybe alongside the next upcoming iPhone. But we should have AirPods 3 with a different tip sort of design on it, where you wouldn't have one that goes in your ear, but it would be similar to AirPods 2 or AirPods, but maybe have more features such as spatial audio or better head tracking spatial audio, or maybe even additional features we didn't think of. So those should be coming very soon and are in production at this time. And so that's everything from this past week as far as the news goes. Of course, I'm looking forward to those upcoming iOS versions as well as the fall events coming very, very soon. I'm looking most forward to those and new products we should see there. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description if you'd like to get your hands on it. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.